All right, hi, I'm Beck Lane, and that's my cat, and this is Catalyst and Company. Catalyst and Company, where we're catalysts in each other's lives as well as our own, and hopefully we become the artists we've always we've always wanted to be, whatever that means to you. I know what it means to me, and I'm nowhere near there, but I'm deciding to trust the universe that we will get my artwork to a place that I've worked very hard for. Today I decided I'm going to trust the universe again. We'll see what happens tomorrow. But anyway, regardless, behind me is the painting that I started, I think, Sunday. I think it was Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning, possibly. His name is, and I did find his name online, Claude Clark. Claude Clark. And he was from a section of Worcester known as Beaverbrook, I believe, but it's Claude Clark. The photograph was taken in 1902. Apparently, the collection that this photo came from belongs to the Worcester Art Museum, which is a really great art museum from what I hear. I haven't been there. Even though I'm from Massachusetts and I lived in Rhode Island, I haven't been there. I have friends that have shown work there. They've had exhibits and shows there, and I hear it's really great. But as I said, I haven't been there. But going through the catalog where I found Claude Clark's photo on Pinterest, where I find a lot of photos actually of African Americans and Black people taken in this time period during the Gilded Age, basically, the Gilded Age and beyond. I found them on Pinterest, but then sometimes it's very hard to find the pedigree, to find out who took the photograph, who the image is actually of, who the subject is. But fortunately, with Claude, all the information, I was able to find a link with all the information, and so I followed it to this website where I have a little bit more information on Claude. I have information on the photographer, and we talked about him in the last video, but I also found a whole library of photographs available online at the Worcester Art Museum, and I'll contact them at some point and say, do you mind if I paint from these images? Especially if we end up with a buyer, I have to ask permission. Normally I ask permission up front, but considering they're online and it's a public institution, I don't feel as bad. I don't feel as guilty as I normally would. I'm pretty fastidious about tracking people down because I want to be respectful, but at the same time, done already, donezies. Clark is all done. As you can see from the last video, he's really filled in. I did the leaves obviously in the background. There's this huge trellis of some type of vinage behind him, so I really filled that in, as well as the porch over here, the ground, etc., and I'm pretty pleased. He's going to pair so nicely with all the other boys and hobby horses that I've done, but he's also pairs, and this is one thing I think about when I'm working, and I hope you do too, is continuity, and how you can have themes and ideas tying together. I've been working on the boys on hobby horses for I think 9 years, 10 years. Not all the time, not like I'm going to paint boys on hobby horses and that's all I'm going to do for the next 10 canvases. It's just kind of like, it's a continuing project. It's a project like tons of other projects I have, and that portfolios that I'm adding to in different ways. I have the abstract portfolio. I have some that are based on mythology. I have some that are based on pure energy in the abstracts. None of them are just abstract blobby shapes. They have purpose, they have intent. That's another thing we've talked about a lot in these videos. But anyway, regardless, I have a lot of different portfolios, but it's also important to me that images from one portfolio can tie into another portfolio, or another portfolio and another portfolio. So if they ever are hung together, or I have the opportunity to do exhibits, we have different ways to play with the images. Doing shows again, doing exhibits again. We can really play with the images and ideas and tell different visual stories. So this not only ties into my neighbor's home from her little vacation away, so you're going to hear her and her kids, but anyway, not only does he tie in with the boys on hobby horses and the girls called Three Little Piggies, a painting of three girls riding three little piggy merry-go-round piggies, but he ties in really well with another painting I did called Harlem 1945, and it's a young girl seated in a soapbox in terms of color and tone and intensity and the faces and the look in their eyes. They're so strong that those two will tie together well, as several other African American paintings I've done. Now what's his name? Dr. Van Horn, who's 8-foot tall painting of the first black dentist in the state of Rhode Island. Dr. Van Horn, 8 feet tall. Again, it's the colors, the intensity of the stare, but also the patterns in his pants. That's a whole nother portfolio. That's work based on African American community in Newport, Rhode Island. There goes the kitty. So it's getting ideas and techniques and images and colors and design, tying them all together without making it too explicit, but also explicit enough where you're like, oh yeah, collectors or whomever, curators can go, oh yeah, this works with this and this and this and this. So we have a lot of different directions to go in. Anyway, I'm really pleased with her. Again, Brian, thank you for the canvas. And because of Brian, I'm about to start 2 more canvases, and let me get one of them. They're very thin. They're 24 by 48, if you can see, sort of. They're 24 by 48. So what I was going to do, and I talked about this again in the last video, was take them and put them together and use them for Claude. I've got his name right. Claude? Never mind, I'm not going to look it up. We're going to go with Claude Clark for now. Anyway, I was going to use both of them for Claude Clark, but the canvases don't fit together particularly well. The stretchers have bowed, and I don't know if it's because they've gone hot to cold. I don't know what's going on, but there's nothing I can do about it. They're bowed like this. No, they're bowed like this. So they kind of have an hourglass shape. They're just in a little bit in the center, about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch off, and I can't have that. So what I'm going to do is I have reference material of 2 African American women with their arms around each other. They're friends, and they've got, I can't do it with the shoulder, but that one has her arm up on the other girl's shoulder, and the other girl has her arm around her friend's waist. And so I'm going to be doing those 2, one figure on each canvas, hopefully. We're going to see how it works. I'm going to start it in a few minutes. But again, that particular painting ties into a portfolio that I don't think people would recognize unless I told them. I have multiple images of young boys. I have a set of boys in these sweaters. I was really proud of the sweaters that I first did when I lived in Rhode Island, in my studio, in Studio 120, what was that, 9-10 years ago? And that one's in New York. That's with Eden Fine Art in New York. I was so proud of it too. The sweaters came out perfectly. I learned a lot in that painting, in that project. But I have, the Eden Fine Art also has one, Sister My Sister, and it's these 2 women, white women, in one's wearing a white apron or white dress or something or other. I don't remember. You can find it on my website. Again, arms around each other. I just finished the 2 girls with palm trees in back of them. Again, arms around each other. It's this familial feel, and it's the entire idea is poised on a painting I did even longer ago, probably 15 years ago, and it's this big, and it's called Familial Scars. And it's these 2 women, I don't know if they were sisters or not, but I just was intrigued by this itty-bitty photograph of these 2 women with their arms around each other, or they're next to each other or something. I don't know, it's in my room. But that got me thinking about relationships and ties and the affection between people, and how can it be expressed without an explicit hug or a kiss? It's something that we don't have a lot in this culture now. We don't have a lot of arms around each other, arms locked, walking down the street. That's something that has gone way out of fashion and tends to make people uncomfortable. But when we see it, especially in the context of a vintage image, when it's portrayed as being from a time gone by, you go, oh yeah, I remember that feeling. I remember that feeling of being close. I remember the feeling of being affectionate, or having affection to a relative or a friend, someone I care about, being able to express it. I remember that. And I want to experience it again. But what I do, because I don't have that in my life either, what I do is I express the relationship through the image. So it's an entire project of just people with their arms around each other, something so simple, something so casual, and yet it makes people so calm and joyous and feel alive. So there we are. Anyway, he's done. I'm going to start these two women, and it's hard to, I'm going to mention again, it's hard to find photographs of, it can be very difficult to find especially good photographs of African Americans or black people, and it's hard to find them in thrift stores or secondhand shops. But there's an endless resource online. It's just digging and finding out who they belong to, so that we're being respectful. I'm being respectful when I'm painting. And the funny thing is, today I learned about a site that is a collection of photographs and stories and items that belong to a section of Sarasota called Newtown. And I lived on the edge of Newtown when I first moved here, and I was very happy up there. Sarasota is a very segregated city. It really is. It's explicitly segregated. It's one of the whitest places I've ever lived, and it's exhausting. The whiteness is exhausting. And I looked for information on Newtown, and I found some history, but there's this site where there's all these great photographs of people, African American people, and this is what I want to learn. Who are the people that built Sarasota? Who are the people that built the culture? Who are the people that brought, I don't know how to put it. I was just having this conversation with a gentleman who's actually tied into this Newtown site today. And I was telling him basically this. I'm not interested in painting rich white people. I'm not interested in painting rich people at all. I'm not interested in painting celebrities. What I'm interested in are the people that built the community and built the core of culture. Who were the first people, or who were the people that actually made Sarasota or wherever I live in the beginning? It certainly wasn't rich white people. I mean, all we know here, what we hear about here is Ringling Museum. All we're hearing about are people that came here with money and established themselves. But who built their house? Who made the gardens that made them famous? It wasn't Mr. and Mrs. Ringling. So I want to know who everyone else is, basically. I don't care about the millionaires and the billionaires. I don't care. I don't care about the stars. A while ago, I did a painting called Making a Way Out of No Way, and I started it in Virginia when Trump was running for office, because there were all these horrible Trump billboards everywhere, on farms and everywhere, and the KKK came out, and all these white nationalists started taking over, and I've talked about this before. They took over downtown Fredericksburg in different days, and it was really awful. They would stop traffic. They would threaten people with guns. And they were just like, Trump, Trump. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. So I did this painting called Making a Way Out of No Way. And my host at the time said, what are you going to title this? And in the beginning, I didn't know. And I looked at her and I go, explaining things to white people. Because it was all about who built this country. Who built this country? And how we punish them for existing. How did they survive that? Building Washington, D.C., building all these neighborhoods and monuments and you know, buildings that we revere and these institutions. Who built them? We know the moneyed white people who live in them or own them. Who built them? Those are the people I'm interested in. Who built this country? I'm assuming that Claude and his family, when they lived in Worcester would have been, okay, never mind, I'm going to stop. I'm very tired. I worked on this for hours today. You get my point. I don't want to paint Mick Jagger, even though he lives about 30 minutes away from me. I could care less. I could absolutely care less. I want to get to the heart of the matter. I want to find the Claudes. And so I painted him. I'm going to move on to these two friends. Maybe they're sisters. Oh, their arms around each other in their best dresses. And I love it. They're just so happy and comfortable and exuberant. And I love it so much. And I'm also reconfiguring, readdressing the woman in the white dress. Why don't we just go take a little visit real quick before I completely sputter out. Okay, where is she? She's up too high. All right, so I'm rethinking her. Sorry about this. What a professional setup I have. I'm rethinking her. I've been playing with the colors in the umbrella, the lights and the darks, the shadowing, and then it hit me. What was really missing in this? Because I kind of mamby-pambied my way along. And so I went through and I pulled out a tube of Payne's Gray and started going in, really digging in and committing to the lights and darks. And then I started to commit to the figure and framing her using Payne's Gray, but it wasn't quite dark enough. So I added the, excuse me, Quin Purple, the Quin that I can't pronounce and I don't care. Quin Purple, or red, or whatever you want to call it, to the Payne's Gray, and I started digging in with that. Still not quite dark enough, still didn't have that really strong line that I wanted. So I went ahead and I dug out this tube of black, I think it's lamp black, that my friend Wesley sent me years ago, and went doopity-doo, went boopity-boo, all around the umbrella, all around the figure, came back down to the skirt, which is something I was thinking about anyway. I've been readdressing the skirt, the lights and the darks, and when I was looking at the reference material, the photograph, and really blew it up, I saw hints of lights and tiny shadows, and I thought, you know what, I think she has dresses on this skirt. So I've added some flowers on her skirt. What did I say, dresses? I added some flowers to her skirt because it's just a hint. The skirt is very, very white. The whole figure is very, very, very white. In the photograph, it's black and white, so it's very, very white. She was in the sun, our little friend here. But I've added them, and tonight I think I'm just going to go through and finish up the creases, the lights and the darks, address the flowers a little bit, but that using that black and making these lines, being linear, being fancy, help me to think, how can I really punch this up? So, happier, super happy with Claude. He's going in my room to dry for a little bit. his face is not quite right. He has too much of a, I don't want to say it, too much sadness in his eyes. A little too much sadness for me. In the photograph, in the reference material, he has a very strong look. He's seated straight. His eyes are squared. He's unafraid. And so I'm going to let the paint dry a little bit, turn him, put him in my little drying room, my bedroom, up against the wall so I'm not looking at him. Pull him out in a couple days. We'll readdress that, and I think he's all done and he's ready to go, and I can move on. All right, that's it. That's kind of it. Hopefully I gave you a few things to think about. Again, I'm Beck Lane, and this is only 10:30, and I feel like it's 3 in the morning. I'm Beck Lane, and this is Catalyst and Company. If you'd like to help support Catalyst and Company, there's a bunch of links down below, including Cash App, PayPal, TeePublic, Patreon, where I have been posting this week, and a few other things. And if you're interested in Claude or any of the other paintings you've seen here on YouTube or on my website or Instagram or Facebook, I'm listening to my cat scratch at the door. He can't figure out how to use the doggy door flap. It's not that hard. He has his head through, and he's used it before, but he's just being odd. Anyway, so if you've seen any paintings that you're interested in, the phone numbers and contact info for Blue Egg Interiors in Fort Lauderdale, as well as Chase and Galleries here in Sarasota, are posted down below. All right, Carrie, I'm done now. I promise. Ready? Cheer, cheer, meow, meow, boink.